Start the recording. Switch screens here. And yeah, welcome back, guys, to our 23rd session of Arcadia. Just a few points of order before I let the captain do his log. As you may or may not notice, we do have a new person joining us today, Lieutenant Commander Sabo. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. If not, feel free
Yeah.
to correct me. He will be our CMO, hopefully for the continuing future. But we'll find out more about him as we get into play. The other sort of point of order I have is during the first week of May, we will be taking off. Both Ophion and Arcadia will be taking off. I don't have a calendar in front of me at the moment, but first week of May, whatever that first Saturday, Sunday weekend is. Um, Other than that, I think we're ready for the captain to do his log.
So is it Sabo or Sabo?
It's Sabo.
Okay. Captain's log, stardate 49894.6. Life aboard the Arcadia has been quiet since our encounter with singularity-dwelling Phaley. Besides scanning a few typical systems, we have little else to do. Given this extra free time, I have been balancing introducing myself to the new crewmen aboard the Arcadia A, as well as focusing on new relaxation techniques. Each passing hour Los spent in our mirror universe was more stressful than the previous one. This stress was not made better by Chief Hylong's chastisement for allowing Los to travel to the universe in the first place, but ever since Los's return with a duplicate of Hylong's sword, that chastisement has become much less unwelcome. However, before I rescue young Los from Hylong's wrath, I intend to meet with Lieutenant Commander Sabo, a talented chief medical officer. I intend to invite him to the Arboretum for a recreation of Earth's Japanese tea leaf ceremony. I have recently read great things about the ceremony's implementation of Vulcan tea blends, and I am excited to muddle my way through it.
All right. So, as said, we will kind of open up with you all, well, at least the captain and our CMO. You will both kind of meet in the Arboretum, and I will let you run your own scene. Oh, I guess before I do that, if we could get a description of Sabo real quick.
Sure. Sabo is Vulcan, clearly. Um, he's generally has a rather severe look on his face because he just has that kind of resting, severe expression. He's usually lost in thought, and yeah, going to be his first opportunity to be a chief medical officer. He recently was, you know, was on another ship and was just transferred over. So yeah.
Alrighty. So go ahead, Captain. Describe what our lovely CMO would be seeing when he meets you in the Arboretum.
So yeah, it there would be just from what I understand, there would be a map with all of the implements and tools and the tea. And I would have asked because I have a suspicion that Vulcans are very particular with what they prefer, and so I would have asked if it was acceptable to use Vulcan tea in the ceremony.
That would be acceptable, Captain.
All right. So I will have dipped into my diplomatic supplies and pulled out some fresh tea that had not been replicated. And I start going through the procedure, offer you the tea. You'll notice I'm very slow and stiff with my movements. And sitting, I do take a long time to make sure I sit down in a good posture. But otherwise, thank you, Doctor, for meeting me here. I thought this might be a relaxing place to visit.
It is rather interesting, Captain.
I'm curious, in which ways do you find this arboretum interesting?
There's a rather large variety of vegetation that I have not encountered.
Did your last ship have an arboretum?
No, sir, it did not.
Neither did mine. It is unfortunate that I don't take advantage of our new ship having this more often. Um,
Have you gathered specimens from the Shackleton Expanse to be put into this arboretum?
yes, I believe we have, and I will gesture over behind him toward Andromeda. Um, I assume, Doctor, you've been made aware of Andromeda on our ship. She's been working on the garden, and from her home, she was originally I believe, a farmer.
I've been reading a little bit on some of the files. I have yet to thoroughly peruse them, but I believe she has that in common with Lieutenant Shravik. Am I correct?
Is that true?
I don't know, Janice, what say you?
I'm sorry, I missed that part.
That you used to be a farmer as well?
Oh, yes.
Oh, then yes. Although I have not seen Janice here myself, although I don't monitor my the personal activities too closely of my crewmen. I think some privacy is always earned.
Agreed.
Well, Doctor, I'm curious if how the experience for you has been aboard the Arcadia so far. If you're working well with the rest of the medical staff, I know many have had to get used to some members of our team.
There will be a period of acclimating, as you would imagine. I've not had the position of chief medical officer before, but I believe that, as you would say, I would find my way eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Saba's trying to he's never encountered these Japanese tea ceremony before, so he's also very stiffly trying to sort of follow what you're doing, but also kind of obviously out of his element.
There's a data pad off to one side, and every once in a while I'll check it to make sure I'm doing it right. Well, since I have you here, although this wasn't the intention of our meeting, I believe I might be coming up on a servicing date for my prosthetic spine.
Ah, yes, I'd read about that in your medical file. You had a severe spinal injury, correct?
Yes, shortly before I entered Starfleet Academy.
And the spine is synthetic?
Mostly, yes.
Well, we should have you into the medical bay at your earliest convenience.
Well, I suppose you're in charge of that, Doctor. It's one of the few areas where I don't get to decide. And I know Carruthers was put upon our ship for servicing my spine as well as prosthetics for other members of our crew. But I wouldn't mind getting your own second opinion.
Okay. Well, Carruthers I am not familiar with. I have not encountered him nor his file as of yet. But I do have some experience with cybernetics.
I was in the middle of drinking my tea, and I just kind of slowly let the tea come back into the glass and put it down, trying to hide back that I'm doing that. But you haven't met Carruthers?
I kind of do the Vulcan eyebrow raise. No, sir.
I might be doing one of the eyebrow raises myself right now, too, because I'm wondering if I should pull a prank on a Vulcan. I believe before we do anything, I believe you should meet with Carruthers. I think you'll find him to be an interesting member of the medical team.
Interesting in what way, Captain?
think I would rather let your experience inform you than my personal opinions. But he is a specialist in for the purposes of the prosthetic implants among our crew, as well as a bit of a dabbler in cybernetic life, or rather organic artificial life, if I can remember correctly.
Well, then of course I would be interested to meet him.
I strongly recommend that you do. He is a member of your team.
Well, then I look forward to seeing him when I reach the medical bay.
All right. And then I guess tea ceremony continues to happen.
Okay. For sake of argument, since I personally am not 100% familiar with said ceremony, unless you commit any grievous sort of faux pas, I'm content to say that the tea ceremony, while maybe stiff, as you said earlier, it's perfectly adequate.
Yes, adequate.
But yeah.
Hooray for adequate.
Yes, exactly. So kind of as you finish up the ceremony, finish your conversation, and kind of split up, would Sabo go to sickbay right away, or would he maybe try to meet Carruthers somewhere else, or what's the play?
I imagine Sabo would probably want to go to medical bay as soon as he, probably right away, so that he can take in the environment and understand what his duties are going to be, and get, meet and coordinate with anybody who's already there.
Okay, in that case, I will put you on this map. Yes, I know it says it's a Nova class sick bay, but it's the one we're going with for the moment.
Okay.
But yeah, you kind of step inside, and you see your sick bay. Where is Carruthers' token? There he is.
He probably wouldn't be there.
That kind of working near one of the bio beds is Ensign Carruthers. And yeah, I'm going to let you two play out your scene.
You must be Ensign Carruthers.
Yes, I'm Carruthers. Nice to meet you, Lieutenant Commander.
Sabo.
Zabo. You're the new Chief Medical Officer.
Indeed, I am. You may simply refer to me as Dr. Sabo if you prefer.
Sure thing. I actually have a few requests of you when you get settled in.
Requests?
Yes, experiments I wish to run.
What sort of experiments are we speaking about?
I'm going to need samples of the captain and the commander and a couple other crew members. I have been monitoring their performance and doing exams on them, and I know the captain is coming up, same with the commander actually, for servicing with their prosthetic faculties. I need their sampling so I may grow and integrate and use synthetic organs.
Indeed, yes, Captain Tehan did mention something about the fact that his servicing was coming up, which we will need to schedule that as soon as it is convenient for him.
Excellent. And the other experiments I wish to run is to get enough biomimetic gel to expedite the growth of some more organic tissue I am currently working on.
What's the nature of this experiment?
Tactile feel. I am working on making a new nervous system for a side experiment. Small scale, just to transmit sensation of touch, pressure, and air pressure differential.
Interesting. What would be the purpose of this?
To graft it onto a possible synthetic life form. It's all small scale. It is nothing I can focus on right now. It's still in experimental stages as I am working to make full scale, probably in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Hopefully before I'm long gone.
Interesting. All right. Well, then I don't want to make things difficult on my first day. So I would like to meet the rest of the staff as soon as we can, and we will carry on with whatever your current orders are, and we will make changes and as we go along.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to working with you. I'm looking forward to making headway in my projects and being of value to you.
But very well, Vincent Carruthers. Sabo just sort of raises his eyebrow and goes into the medical office.
Okay. So, we can play out the scene if you want, but yes, it's very easy for you to kind of call in the rest of the medical staff and have kind of a high level meeting. Of course, Andromeda would be there. It's up to you whether or not we actually play it out or if we just kind of hand wave it.
We can hand wave it. I mean, there's nothing that he really wants to shake up at this point. He just sort of, wants to meet everybody, understand what the nature of everybody's, what their duties are, and that way he can make a mental note and know who, which members of the medical team specialize in what things, so that he knows who to rely on when it comes to certain cases.
Gotcha. All right. With that in mind, does anyone else have any scenes of their own they wish to play out before we get to the quote-unquote meat of the session?
I'll just say that for the month that we've been traveling, Crowley's been beating the shit out of everyone in the crew, pretty much. Doing training, tactical training with everyone. Sid and Hailong have been helping him. Basically trying to get everyone working together with the integration of the crews. Yeah, that's pretty much what she's been doing.
Okay. Anyone else? Alrighty. In that case, we will cut to the bridge. And of course, Sabo, if you want to be on the bridge at any point, just say so, and you can certainly be there. But we'll say, for sake of argument, we are probably, we'll say 4 hours into Alpha Shift. It's still pretty boring, not a whole lot's going on. However, as you all just kind of continue to stare at the view screen, Sin just kind of goes, from behind you.
I'll turn and look at her, like, Sid?
Give me a moment, sir. Well, this is interesting. Are you familiar with Morse code?
Vaguely.
I turn around in my seat. Yes, I am.
Well,
what-
sir, I'm picking up an SOS in it.
That archaic. Put the location and the transmission on screen.
Certainly, sir. So she puts on screen what looks to be a standard gravimetric disturbance that's, common to the Expanse. And to kind of visualize what that might be is it's not quite a black hole from my understanding, but it is kind of a swirl of energy that is kind of gathered around a very dense material. I don't think it's specifically said anywhere, but my imagination is if you were to go into one of these anomalies, it would kind of be like a wormhole, but it's very random where you'd be spit out. It also wouldn't be great for the ship.
Right.
But yeah, that is what is on screen at the moment.
Chief Hylon, could you prepare a probe?
At once, sir. What class would you prefer?
Class 2.
All right, probe away, sir. And as the probe approaches this anomaly, I would like someone to roll me a reason plus science for Hailong, and then the ship will assist with sensors plus science. The difficulty will be a 1 after accounting for the ship's talents and environmental effects.
Sensors plus science. I got it.
Who's rolling high long?
I don't
Actually,
think
let's
anyone's
have,
doing high long yet.
Let's have Sabo do high long.
Yeah.
Oh, what am I doing?
So pull up high long sheet and roll a reason plus science if you could.
Look at my trend starting already for failure of ship rolls.
Starting? I'm kidding.
Oh.
So just it's a 1d20 since I'm assisting, right?
No, you are the primary character, so you are 2d20.
Okay, got it. Let's see, do I have any focuses that would come in?
I think she's got shipboard sensors on her sheet.
Yeah, sensor operation modification. Okay.
Oh, wow. Well, that maybe that doesn't
Ouch.
bode well for momentum purposes, but so narratively, what this roll results in is the probe. There's so much interference from the anomaly that Hylong says, "Sir, I bit embarrassed to admit this, but it seems that our probe is unable to break through the interference. If you're interested in getting closer, though, sir, we are only about 30 minutes away at our current speed."
I would like to get closer. Lieutenant Shavik, set in a course.
Very well, sir. And then I tactfully dance across the console appropriately and redirect our course.
All right. So during this 30 minutes, if someone wants to do something, of course, speak up. But assuming nobody does get anything, you arrive 30 minutes later. And now that you're closer to the anomaly, Sin is able to specifically pinpoint where the SOS is coming from. And she changes the view screen. And what you see is this ship here.
Hey.
Would I be correct in assuming that this is a pre-Federation Starfleet vessel?
Somewhat, yes.
Okay.
Scan for life?
Yes,
So-
let's scan for life, please.
All right. Go ahead and give me another reason plus science from Hylong and another sensors and science for the ship. The difficulty is still a 1.
Commander, you don't sense anything, do you?
Do I sense anything?
At the moment, you do not.
I cough a little and go like, no, nothing.
All right, well, we got the 1 success so far. Does the ship give us momentum? It does! Yay, you guys start off with a momentum. So I'm going to give you a small blurb here. And remember,
Well-
you can spend in a momentum for more information. So,
Janice
oh, go ahead.
is a starship expert, so could I roll to get that information?
Yeah, but let me say this, and then you can decide what type of
Okay.
information you're going for.
Okay.
Hylong says, well, sir, we are looking at a DY 500 class vessel. It seems to be registered as the SS Aquitaine. If it matters, DY 509. Best I'm able to pull up in the computer is that according to what records we have, the Aquitaine disappeared shortly after launch in 2130. The last known transmission was of the Aquitaine reporting that it had passed Mars and moving towards the asteroid belt. Beyond that, though, sir, I haven't been able to pull up anything quite yet. The computer is working.
So this thing's 200, almost 200, or right over 250 years old.
Oh man, player knows what that could be. Character, no
Um,
clue.
Yeah, that is a bit of human history, specifically. Does this look like an automated message?
Sin from behind you says, it appears to be yes. Of course, and I've tried sending back appropriate countersigns, and nothing really seems to be changing the signal. So my guess is either it is automated or whoever might be alive on that ship uh, isn't able to respond for whatever reason.
Okay.
And was
Captain.
Um, sorry, someone else was saying something.
Captain, I'd recommend an away team. They may be in clearly distressed. They can't reply. They are asking for help.
I agree. Although if if the ship is as old as it says it is, and it's this far away, we could assume that there is no more crewmen left aboard. I'd like to briefly try to do some research, see if I can find out why this ship is here, or what its mission was. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to ask Hailong, can you scan for any hull trauma, or is there an environment inside the ship?
Okay.
yes, sir.
So what I'd like Tahan to do, and Janice, you can assist on this since you do have sort of expertise in the area. I believe that this would be appropriate to use perhaps either a reason plus con or maybe an insight plus con. Of course, if you have a better idea of a combination, please feel free to let me know. And that'll be for the both of you. The difficulty here will be a 2.
Would it be possible for me to assist Janice on this one?
Yeah, you can certainly do it that way.
Okay. And could I assist with my command skill? Giving him maybe a higher clearance level than normal to search this?
Yeah, sure, we can flavor it that way.
So
Alright.
I'm gonna be primary on this role.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. But the good thing is, because I'm assisting with command, you get to re-roll 1d20 if you want to.
Hey, well, we already got the 2 successes you need. Hey, another momentum. Look at that.
So,
All right, so here's some more information. And remember, you, of course, can ask additional questions. So, further records that Janice is able to pull up do indicate that the Aquitaine was a sleeper ship. Strangely, it did not launch with a full complement of people. It had room for about 300, but only left Earth with about 80. And the records also indicate that the Aquitaine was also carrying equipment for establishing a colony, but whatever its original destination was, did not make it into Starfleet records. The other thing that Hailong will report, because I'm just going to hand wave her role, Hailong says, Sir, I'm picking up about 235 individuals in stasis.
I understand. Commander? Go ahead and prep that away team.
Very well. Commander to Chief Medical Officer Sabo.
Sabo here.
Prepare for an away mission. Meet on Transporter Room 3.
Understood.
Maddox, I'd like to have you on this away mission as well. If their engines or systems are faulty, I could use an engineer.
Uh-oh. Are you muted, Maddox? Oh no, we lost Maddox.
I think he said he had to step away for a second.
That's okay. All right. Well, I don't think he would argue against not going. Anyways, anyone else you take on the away mission?
Let's see. Is there anyone else that would like to go? Like Captain Wood, who would you prefer?
I mean, my only supporting character is Ensign Los.
I could use some backup. I'll take Los with me.
Okay.
Get him to do some good to stretch his legs.
Yeah. He's not bringing any swords or knives with him. That was a one-time thing.
And for Janice, did you want to bring a support character?
Let's take Alon. He is also engineering because it's old. So
Okay.
or the one type of engineer. Because if we're transporting, Janice ain't down with it.
So I think it's everyone? Yeah.
All right, let me just finish moving tokens here. All right. You all. I won't make it a task. You all arrive in Transporter Room 3, and the Transporter Chief does beam you on over. After, of course, confirming it is a livable atmosphere, he does not beam you into space.
Damn.
So, yeah.
So glad I took an alternate character.
You all do arrive in a corridor that looks kind of like this. And as you're looking around, the first thing you notice is, of course, the multitude of sleeper pods that are kind of lining the walls. Also, you're noticing that the lighting is very dim and flickering. Same thing goes for any computer terminals that you come across. Matic, if you'd like to try and stabilize a console and try to get access, you could certainly do so. But at the moment, it is kind of going in and out. Oh, and it's also worth noting that the atmosphere is Earth normal.
Matic, see if you can get the lights turned on, and the moment you get computers running, have the databanks transferred to the ship.
Sir. I'll also do a quick scrub on them, make sure that there isn't anything virus-wise in them.
Very well.
All right.
I'd like to use take out the medical tricorder and see if I can scan if I can find any bodies in these life pods and see if I can take like a quick medical scan of the status.
Okay. Let's resolve Maddox's roll, and then we'll do yours.
Okay.
So Maddox, as you probably can guess, this is going to be a control plus engineering. Difficulty 1.
Alon can assist.
Yeah, Alon can assist.
I have a focus of computers on Alon.
Well, there you go.
So that's,
Alien engineering technology, because all this stuff is so old, it's alien to me.
No.
So
Nice try, though.
would apply then.
Say again?
Power systems.
Yeah, power systems would apply.
what's the role type you want again?
Control plus engineering.
Not rolling like I was yesterday.
Yeah, eight successes. Saw that.
One after another.
Hey, look at that. Another 2
Oh.
momentum. Good job, Alon.
He is awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, between the two of you, you are able to get the particular console you're working on in sort of a stable fashion. And immediately 2 bits of information will sort of pop up on the screen. The first is that the console indicates the Aquataine's engines are failing, and that unless something is done, the Aquataine will fall into the gravimetric anomaly within the next 2 hours. The other bit of information is that there are a set of directions to a particular stasis pod that says, wake Mistress Rasha first.
Mistress Rasha, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Commander?
Yep.
Myself and Alon, we probably need to go to the engines and fix them. There's directions to a Mistress. So I'm assuming is the captain. In my experience, Mistress whatever is typically a term given to the Orion females. So I don't know if
So
this
I'll be getting a headache, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, even then, I'll set the computer up to begin a data transfer, and we could find out more about these people. before we decide to start wicking them up.
Also, Commander, is it possible for the Arcadia to use the tractors and pull us away from this anomaly, so you're not time crunched on repairs?
But
Good
we work
question,
best
Matt.
under time crunches, Alon.
Maddox, would the Arcadia be able to pull us away?
I don't see why not. The only issue I might see is how old is this ship?
So it launched in 2130, so it is over 250 years old.
Yeah, with the ship being as old as it is, and the way the gravimetric anomaly, I can talk, is pulling on this, it has to be a very careful pull with our tractor beam, or else we could literally rip the ship into pieces.
Um, Back at the Academy, the Nova Squad, when we wanted to pull off dangerous maneuvers, we would clamp our ships together to increase our structural integrity. Can we do that with a shuttle?
Um, there's a good possibility we could, but I mean, even then, the Nova ships were relatively new. You know, you're not trying to put something that's been out in space and has had God knows what happened to it for 200 plus years.
Fair enough.
And it's a risk that you could take. It might be a little bit better than using a tractor beam. But as far as I could tell right now, the safest course of action would be for myself and Alon to get these engines back up, and you can just pilot this thing away.
Get on the engines.
Just to make a note, being as old as it is, the engines on this is probably just standard nuclear or low ion. So I don't know if they have enough thrust. We can see. We might be able to use the engines and a tractor beam to reduce the stress. You know, part on the ship's part and part on the Arcadia's. But I'm not exactly sure what engine type this thing has.
Would I have found what engine type it is on the computer after I fixed it, or?
Oh yeah, as Janice has correctly guessed, it is still using a very basic sort of ion engine.
Which is
And
low thrust with slow burn type of thing where it accelerates over long periods of time. So
Mhm.
thrust is very low on it.
So sooner we get it fixed, the better.
get to it then. Doctor, Ensign Los,
Yes.
I want you to all examine the pods, make sure that they're fine, stable, and see if you can dig up any information on the reactivation process and how long it takes.
Understood.
Can't
Yes,
save
sir.
the ship. We might as well try and get them all off the ship then.
All right.
Commander Crowley to the Arcadia.
Captain here?
I would suggest we start looking at possibly retooling a cargo bay to accept cryopods if we have to do emergency beam out.
Agreed. I'll get that underway. And if there's anything you need from the ship, stability, lowering of mass so that thrusters are more efficient, just let me know.
Actually, have Janice prepare the Roddenberry.
He's already left the bridge.
Like a school child. Yay!
As everyone's doing their thing, I'm going to go head to. I'm sure there's like a little display I can pull up that will show me where this Mistress Cryopod's at.
Oh yeah, it definitely gives you directions.
I'll go to the room it's in.
Okay. But first, let's resolve Sabo's role. So, Sabo, your role for this is going to be a reason plus medicine. The difficulty will be a 2.
A 2. Okay.
Would I be assisting?
How would you be assisting is the question. Because I imagine Sabo has like a legitimate medical tricorder because it's part of his standard kit.
Right. I just have the emergency medicine focus.
Yeah, I don't know if that really applies here.
All right.
Now, if I'm Vulcan and these humans that are in the pods, or is that going to be part of the scan that I'm
That
determining?
is part of the scan.
Okay, because I do have xenobiology. I don't know if that's going to help as a focus.
I'm going to say in this instance, xenobiology does not apply.
Okay. And I do have quick study,
Okay.
which would ignore if attempting a task that involves an unfamiliar species, ignore any difficulty increase stemming from your unfamiliarity, but I don't know if you increased because of that.
Nope. Difficulty is still a 2.
Okay. Should I spend a momentum on this?
Sure, if you want to.
Okay. I'm not sure how to do that in roll 20.
Oh, just let me know if you want to do it, and I'll toss a token.
Okay. Yeah, I'll draw one if everyone's okay with that.
So therefore,
So do I put so it'd be 3d20?
Correct. All right. Well, you get the 2 successes you need,
Ooh.
which is important. So, your scans of the stasis pod reveal that they all are human, but specifically, they are augments. And for those who are not familiar or who kind of need a refresher, an augment, a human augment, is 5 times stronger and more durable than an average human. They are resistant to most sickness, with platelets in their blood capable of regenerating from any disease or toxin. Their heart muscles are twice as strong, and their lung efficiency is 50% better. They do not require oxygen to survive. They have twice the average human lifespan. And finally, they have minor resistance to directed energy weapons, as well as Vulcan nerve pinches and mind melds.
so let's keep these fools on ice.
How strong are they compared to a Vulcan, though?
If I remember how Khan and Vulcan and Spock worked, I think Spock still outdid him.
Commander,
Yes, Doctor?
I would suggest caution. I am doing my preliminary scans. I am finding that these humans are actually human augments.
Augment. Very well. I will secure the room with the mistress then.
I'm sorry. Augments are they dangerous?
Indeed, they are. If my knowledge of human history is correct, they are, as their name implies, augmented, both in strength and intelligence. It would be noted that they do not need oxygen to survive, and they have a tendency towards aggression. If my knowledge is correct, they were part of the wars during the late 20th century of Earth.
I'm going to radio to the ship. Commander Crowley to the captain.
Captain here.
The doctor has discovered that these humans are augmented.
I see.
I'm not entirely sure what that means.
Well, they still need our help, is what it means. Let's go ahead and get them aboard the Arcadia. If we can safely get them on board in cryosleep, that'd be ideal. But if not, their lives are more important than leaving them behind.
GM, is Janice here in this conversation on the bridge?
I would say you probably would have been kept in the loop, so you would have at least heard it on your way to the Roddenberry.
Oh, that's right. I'm already moved, so I'll shut my face then.
I mean, you still could respond. I think it's assumed that most senior officers are kind of kept in the loop. So.
Sir, this is Janice.
Yes.
Just for security purposes, instead of transferring him onto the ship, could we, basically stabilize their ship and keep them on there for security purposes? So we find out instead of having a board ship where they basically be exposed to our technologies. I'm just concerned that the report says that they have a tendency to be aggressive. So I would rather be able to have them all contained on one ship that we can deal with
That
than
would
having them on our ship and go a little longer. I mean, for emergency beam out, my suggestion, sir, for emergency beam out, of course we would do it. But if the ship gets stabilized, I'm not sure security wise that would be a great idea, sir.
yes, Lieutenant, that would be ideal. Whether or not we destabilize the ship will inform every decision from there. Thank you.
All right. So yeah, it is at this point that I'll split up the tokens so that we know where everybody's going. So it would help if I was on the right window. So Matic and Alon, you guys head off towards the engines. The remaining three of you follow the directions to where the mistress is supposedly seated. And let's deal with Matic and Alon first. So Matic and Alon, when you two step into what is the engine room, again, you see a very old engine, pre-warp engine. Well, before really, warp engines were prevalent. It does show signs of wear and tear. It seems to have been operating for quite a long time without any maintenance. So you do see some exposed kind of conduits, some I guess your tricorders would pick up some sort of basic radiation, but like nothing lethal that you really need to worry about. And yeah, it's up to you to, kind of access a console or begin scanning and see what you can find.
Commander, or Lieutenant, what would you like me to work on first?
Get on the computers, start working on those. I'm going to start accessing some of these open conduits and see just how much maintenance needs to be done on this thing.
Very well, sir.
All right. So Matic, if you could roll me a insight plus engineering, I'm going to make the difficulty here a 2.
And Alon will be assisting with that, correct?
Yes. Yours would be we'll say it's the same thing.
Insight.
Power systems?
Power systems would apply here, yes.
Firm, that's insight and engineering.
Uh-huh.
A 1
And,
and a 20.
We have one complication. All right.
and then he told me specifically be on a work on the computers. So would my computers go into this?
Yeah, I'll allow it.
Oh,
Hooray for complications on a ship filled with augmented humans.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I believe you're at 5 momentum now. But there is going to be a complication. And whether or not it's because of what you guys are doing or whether it's the state of the ship, both Matic and Alon would realize that the engines are going to actually cut off earlier than expected. Like before, the console you would access on the way here said 2 hours. You're looking at more like 15 minutes here. If you're going to tractor or drag it away, you're going to have to do it very soon. Especially because based on what you're seeing, since you succeeded so well, you're looking at bare minimum a week's worth of work to get it back up and running at full capacity.
Medic to Crowley.
Commander here.
I got bad news and worse news.
Proceed.
Worst news, engine's gonna cut out in 15 minutes. Bad news, it takes a week to fix it.
Alright. And how long before the ship's pulled into this distortion? The engine's cut out.
It would be 20 to 25 minutes at best.
Doctor,
Yes, Commander.
how fast can we defrost someone? Or are we able to transport all of these chambers aboard the ship perfectly fine?
I'm not sure what the answer to that would be.
Well, you can either make one up or I can provide you with one.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and provide me with one.
Okay. Based on your, because I'm guessing cryogenics isn't a focus of yours.
No, it's not.
Based on your basic training on the subject, you could conceivably beam the pods over to the Arcadia. The problem is that this is so old of technology that there is a risk of the pods immediately going into sort of defrosting, and without sort of the control systems that are built into the pods, since they're built into the walls, there could be complications with people awakening. Um, as far as how fast you can unice someone, the process takes about 5 minutes to unice one person.
It's kind of making me think like in Mass Effect 3, if you were to crack open that cryopod, you would kill him because the process isn't correct. You'd have to get the right process. So something like that.
Something like that. And I'll say, for sake of argument, since I forgot to mention it earlier, the original console that directed you to the Mistress would have included a step by step instruction on how to defrost someone.
How many pods? I don't know if it was ever said. How many pods are here? Like,
So
how many
there's
pods are we picking up?
there's
Like
300 pods total and 235 actual in use.
The other 65, are they just not filled, or something happened to them?
You don't know. You'd actually have to go to them and scan them away.
All right.
Ensign Los, Doctor, um, go and check all the pods, make sure that they're all connected. If we have to do a mass defrosting, I want to make sure everyone can get out.
Yes, sir. I had a thought. I don't know if it would work, but could we bring portable generators over from the Arcadia to keep these systems online while we fix the engines?
That's the next step I'll be radiomatic for.
All right, I'm on my way. I pull out my tricorder and do as I'm told.
Just before we head off, I'm going to have a quiet word with Commander Crowley. Just, Commander, again, I would like to express caution at this point. I have studied genetics, and we were told what you would refer to as horror stories about these human augments. They were genetic experiments that, again, produced extremely aggressive and extremely strong and intelligent adversaries, potentially, and beaming an entire practical army onto the Arcadia raises concern.
No, I understand that. It's right now there are people in need.
Understood, Commander.
We can't let them drift off into whatever that is. Once we get the ship stabilized, we can proceed from there then.
Understood, sir.
Commander Crowley to Captain.
Captain here.
We're going to need some portable generators beamed aboard the ship. The engines are losing power within the next 15 or so minutes, and then we'll be drifted into this distortion. I have found that it will only take 5 minutes to start defrosting people, though. If worse comes to worse, we'll do mass stasis release, and then beam aboard the ship.
I understand. We're already working on getting those generators to you, and I'm going to see what I can do about using the Arcadia's tractor beams to stop the ship.
Well, have the generators transported to Lieutenant Maddox's position.
Aye, sir. Yes, I will. Sorry,
Sure.
thought I was Lowe's for a second.
so much in the brain.
Lieutenant Maddox,
Matic here.
I'm having generators beamed to your position. Hopefully you can use these to stabilize the ship. If not, we'll be using them to do defrost.
Can I put in an official? I don't know what it would be. I don't disagree with your orders. I don't think we should defrost any of them. With it?
An official objection, I think, maybe is the word.
Okay. Yeah. So, Commander, consider this an official objection to defrosting these people. We all know from the Academy what happened the last time arguments were defrosted. I don't feel like being responsible for that happening again.
Right now, there are people in need. This is the last step if we can't get the engine stabilized. If we can't get the ship cleared, then we'll have to. I'm imagining like these pods don't have their own power supply.
No.
They're all connected to the ship, so like the moment power is lost, they're dead.
Possibly, yeah.
Or they might defrost. Might be an emergency cycle if they.
Unfortunately, none of you have focuses in cryogenics. So
Son of a
Nope.
bitch!
Nope. Oh yeah.
Elon's getting an upgrade.
I will head to the room with this. Is it a lone cryopod? The captain's cryopod?
you don't know. You'd actually have to go there to find out.
I'll go there and find out.
All right. Are you taking Sabo and Los with you?
No, I had them go check all the pods.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
This is how
Okay.
Crowley dies.
Let's resolve the tractor beam first because of how timing works. So for the tractor beam, this would be Sin doing the roll. Sin will be rolling a control plus security, and the Arcadia will assist with structure plus security. The overall difficulty will be a 2.
I think we should use at least one momentum since we've got 5.
Sure.
All right. Well, the ship is definitely not assisting.
Oh, son of a.
Isn't
That's
isn't
it.
the Roddenberry out there too?
I would say at this point the Roddenberry hasn't quite launched yet, and this is purely tractor beam.
Alright. Well, at least it's not a complication.
Yeah. Who's rolling for Sin?
I will.
Okay.
And I am prepared to use my ability as captain to give another character my determination, if needed.
Control security is what you said?
Correct.
We want to go with momentum here because this could be a major thing. Especially seeing this ship already failed.
You said it was
Well,
a difficulty what?
2.
2?
we're already
Yeah,
rolling 3 dice.
let's spend a momentum to get a third dice.
There you go.
Well, we've already done that, so.
Oh.
I mean,
Oh.
like, roll 3 dice, but we've already spent the momentum for it.
Like the 4.
Starship Tactical Systems?
Yeah, I'll let that apply, since supposedly in the system, tractor beam counts as tactical. Hey, look at that, you get a momentum back. So Sin, under the watchful eye of Tahan, does very carefully lock a tractor beam onto the center mass of the Aquitaine. And with coordination with Helm and engineering, the Arcadia begins to back up very slowly to sort of begin pulling the Aquitaine out of danger. And those of you on the ship would feel a sort of a pull towards the Arcadia's direction, but it's not super strong, but you would notice it nonetheless. And for the next, say, about 5 minutes, as those of you are going different places and checking and working on various things, the Arcadia is able to pull the Aquitaine out of danger.
That's good.
And Sin does report, I believe the Aquitaine is safe, sir. Should I continue to keep it under tractor, or would you like it somewhere perhaps to our side, or keep it in front?
Let's just put it in a safe place and monitor the structural integrity. Starboard is fine.
Understood, sir. And sure enough, she moves it so that the Aquitaine is to the starboard side of the Arcadia. And yeah, back on the Aquitaine. At this point, Matic, you have gotten the generators, and I'll say for sake of argument, you have been able to hook up at least one or two to buy you some time. However, if you want to say jury rig the generators so that they last, say, longer than a couple hours, I will need you to roll me a daring plus engineering. Alon can assist on this. And I'm going to make the difficulty here a 3.
Has Matic received the order to make the generators last as long as possible, or was he just told hook the generators up?
Captain
I think
Crowley.
I think this is Crowley.
If you ask him that, he'll probably tell you to hook them up to make them last as long as possible.
I mean, he wouldn't have asked. He would just been like, as he got the generators, like, what was he told?
To hook up the generators.
That's all I do then. All Matic does is hook up the generators. He doesn't
Okay.
do anything else.
All right, in that case, you have bought yourself approximately 2 hours of time. Meanwhile, so Sabo and Los, as you're doing scans of the pods through the many corridors, eventually you all do arrive at what appear to be sort of not quite empty pods, but it is sort of odd, the life signs you're getting. I will say without a roll, you're able to determine that the life signs are not human, but if you want to try and figure out what they are, that would be another reason plus medicine at difficulty 2.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'd like to try that.
Okay.
And hopefully my focus with xenobiology will help with that as well.
I'm going to say possibly. So go ahead and roll, assuming it does.
Okay. You said reason of medicine, right?
Correct. Ooh, that's a complication from Los.
He punches the pod.
What's the
spin to determination.
what's the difficulty again?
He does have values.
The difficulty is a 2.
So I don't know if that's with GM.
Uh-huh.
Los does have lots of values. One of which is never leave a man behind. When all else fails, improvise.
Can supporting characters?
Yeah,
That's
supporting
like-
characters can use determination as long as they've got a value. That's what it's there for.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll use never leave a man behind to re-roll my dice.
Okay. And of course, Sabo, you would be rolling your own 2d20 task.
Okay. And could I use well I'll wait for him to roll to see if
So, would you guys want me to use some determination here? I guess it's too late now.
I mean I can try and if you want use a point of momentum. I forgot that I have cautious medicine
Oh, there
as
you
well.
go.
All right, so I'll spend a point of momentum.
Cautious is the one where if you spend momentum, you can re-roll it, right?
Yeah, I can re-roll 1d20.
Okay.
All right, I only got one success.
Okay, well, good news is it's not a complication.
Okay, I'll re-roll that. 19, I guess.
Well, if you use the momentum, you should get a third die.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Well, no, he
Yeah,
uses
so-
dice to get a reroll.
No,
Oh.
it gives you both.
Nope.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. So yeah, you get the momentum straight back. Would you like to re-roll that 0, though?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and re-roll it, see if I can get some extra stuff going.
As we call it,
And here
kick
comes the
fishing.
20.
Wow,
Whoa!
kick fishing.
Okay.
Okay,
two more
so
momentum?
you
We're
are
maxed out.
maxed momentum, and you have 1 bonus momentum that will go away. So I would recommend spending it on information spend. But let me tell you what's there first.
Okay.
So between Los and Sabo, Sabo, your tricorder again is a bit more advanced than Los's, so you're able to get a better read. You're detecting what seems to be the sort of, I wouldn't call them fetuses. I would say they are, though, very basic farm animals. So you're detecting calves, some horses, some chickens, things of that nature. But they're very rudimentary. They're very basic. They're obviously not full grown, and they appear to be fine in stasis. But you would probably guess that these animals are, again, part of the complement to set up a colony.
And this is true of all of the pods that don't have human life signs in them.
Correct. The other 65 all have sort of beasts of burden or farm animals in them.
And they're in stasis. Do they appear to be healthy?
If you want to spend your momentum to find out, you do have that bonus.
I'm wondering if I should try to come up with a better question to spend that momentum on.
Well, I mean, it's going to have to be about these pods and these animals, anyways.
I mean, do they appear to be healthy?
Yeah, they seem to be in not quite perfect health, but pretty close to it. I suppose you would maybe pick out that some of the cows are somewhat. How do I want to say this?
Mad?
No, they're not mad, but they do have some form of low-level disease, I guess I would say. It is something you could conceivably cure. I mean, it's been 200 plus years.
I do have a focus in infectious diseases,
Yeah, so I
as
would
well
say
as genetics.
I would say in that case, if you were to, of course, unfreeze these animals, you could very well inoculate them and fix the problem without any adverse effects.
Okay. Commander?
Commander here.
I've made an interesting discovery that the pods that are not containing human life signs are actually holding Earth animals, apparently, which I would assume they were probably going to start a colony and use these animals for meat and perhaps eggs and milk and things like of that nature. The animals do show some of the animals do show signs of disease. Nothing that I wouldn't be able to cure, but that is what we are finding in these other pods.
All right. Give me a moment. Commander to the captain.
Captain here?
Are we near any uninhabited M-class planets?
I look over to Hylong.
Hylong dances across the console for a moment and says, the nearest Class M is 2 weeks away, sir, at high warp.
Commander, 2 weeks at high warp. I don't think the Aquitaine would have made it on its own.
No. I'm thinking... This is a colony ship, apparently. With augmented horns beeping in the background. And humans. I think we should try and beam them aboard in stasis and then take them to that planet, just to make sure that planet is uninhabitable and we're not in someone's territory either, and let them thaw out there.
I think that's an excellent idea. I assume we can't raise Starfleet or Commander Admiral Hru from this distance into the Expanse right now?
I would say it would probably take about an hour to get a reply back.
Okay, I mean, I'll go ahead and hail her and wait, but in the meantime, Commander, carry out your mission.
Very well.
GM,
Mm-hmm.
is Janice in the Roddenberry yet?
Yeah, I think you're literally just sitting there because no one has said come back to the bridge.
Well, since nobody's told him to come back to the bridge, he does a startup. But he wants to look up something real quick.
Okay.
Does the Aquitaine record that Augments were the original people placed on this ship?
No. So the original 80 that came on the ship when it launched, as far as the records are indicating, we're all normal humans.
Great. I report this to the captain on the bridge. That this is what I found out.
Am I at the captain's quarters yet?
Yeah, I was just waiting for a good thematic moment to say we're there.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Janice. Captain to Commander.
Commander here.
Janice brought to my attention that the augments on board the Aquitaine are likely stowaways, or rather pirates, of that vessel. So you can assume that when you wake anyone up, there will be hostile intent. I do recommend waking up as few or none as possible.
Okay. I will make sure that everyone stays asleep as long as they're not in danger. I still plan on saving them if something happens, though.
Agreed, Commander.
All right.
Captain,
Yes?
Dr. Sabo here. Would it be unusual for us to have one of the, if we have any telepaths on board, to be able to, I myself can mind meld, or if we have a betazoid that has telepathic abilities, to somehow reach in and try to get an understanding of what's been going on before we bring them out of stasis?
Yeah, where is Counselor Milan?
I mean, if I have to play Nalan, I can, but I will say Crowley does have, I think you're empath, though, yeah.
Yeah, I'm empath.
The Ojum Tum is the supporting character I made. He's a Betazoid telepath.
Oh. Yeah, we can work with him, since Nalan isn't here.
He's Nalan in game is practicing for a play.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. While they are dangerous and likely stole this ship, and I dare not to think about what happened to its original intended occupants, I don't think I can condone an unconsented mind probe.
Understood, Captain.
All right. So it is finally at this moment that you arrive at the location of Mistress Rasha's pod, and it is among another group of pods kind of along the wall. However, Rasha's pod is very easy to pick out because it is of a more advanced model, and thus is a little bit more shiny, a little bit more sleek than the others. And it is an opaque surface, so you have no idea what the person inside is like. Obviously, you know they're human augment, but that's pretty much the extent of what you know.
She got the executive pod.
I wanted to use my tricorder to hook up to the ship's computers.
Okay.
Now, I want to use something. On my walk there, I've probably been perusing the ship design. I do have starship expertise as well.
Mm-hmm.
As a talent. I want to do something interesting and see how you feel about this.
Okay.
I want to use a tricorder to override whatever command this ship has. Any programs, anything that now belong to me through the tricorder, and it'll be encrypted hardcore. And I want to use my intelligence power to make it cost-free. Basically like an advantage type thing.
Right. So just so I understand, you're basically taking over computer functionality.
Yeah, and hard encrypting it with my tricorder.
Okay. I was gonna say no, but rule of cool. Let's roll with it. Sure. Yeah, you could slave the computer functionality to a tricorder and encrypt it. I think I'm still gonna have you roll for it though, even with the advantage, It will
Okay.
reduce the difficulty, but I still think it needs to be a roll.
Okay.
Let's do this as a. How do you feel about control plus security?
I love it.
All right.
Espionage as an insight? The focus, sorry?
I would say no, simply because you're not spying on anyone. If you were to have maybe a hacking focus, I would have said yes.
Is it okay if I spend 3 momentum, guys, to get 2 additional dice?
Do it.
Yeah.
Or what's the difficulty?
The difficulty here will be a 2. And
I
that's
want
after the
overkill.
advantage comes into play.
Yeah.
1, so I'm at 4 dice. No focuses. Yeah.
All right, so you get a momentum back.
Nice.
Yeah, you have complete control of the ship, or most of it anyways, at your fingertips.
I'm going to isolate her pod and her pod alone.
Mm-hmm.
Seal the doors behind me.
Okay.
For 15 minutes. The doors will open after that. And I'm going to let her frost.
Okay.
Let her thaw out, actually.
I got what you meant. All right. As you sit there waiting, you do begin to hear hisses and beeps coming from the pod. And after about 5 minutes, the lid opens. And you finally get a look at the person inside. Rasha is probably about what you'd expect from a human augment in terms of both build and appearance. She possesses a very tall, muscular body that is kept relatively modest by crop top and matching long bottoms. Kind of what you would see in Enterprise when they were going through decon. And what you're seeing is her facial features are very European, complete with shoulder length, platinum colored hair. Interestingly, much like her token, which I will reveal to you now, she does sort of have what appears to be a circlet or a crown of sorts. And as the defrosting effect wears off, her eyes begin to flutter open, and you see these sort of golden irises that seem to almost sparkle. And as she looks at you, she gives you a very warm smile and says, "And who might you be?"
I am Kalos Crowley. Pleasure to meet you.
"I am Rasha." She takes a look around and says, "Where, well, maybe when are we?"
Well, 2372.
It's a bit longer than we'd expected. Unless you stop her, she begins to make motions to step out of the pod.
I hold out my hand to help her out.
She takes it and thanks you. And when she stands, she is taller than you. And she,
That's
again,
impressive.
kind of looks around and says, "I see you saw the instructions in the console, or in the computer."
Yes, I did. You have any idea where you're at right now? Where do you think you're heading towards?
As far as I'm aware, I am aboard the USS Arcadia, and we were headed towards a Class L world, somewhat near. Oh God, I forgot the name of the star. Basically, she gives you the name of a star that is near Klingon space, but is definitely more than say 50 light years from where you are now. So they are way off
Sounds like-
course.
Sounds like you're off course.
Yes.
Your engines were taxing, and they almost lost power. That's been taken care of, though. Your people are safe in their cryopods right now.
Very good. Oh, and Matic, the answer would be yes.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So Rasha does kind of go over to one of the pods near hers and kind of taps at the little console it has there and goes, "Well, seems that everyone survived the trip. I don't know whether or not that is thanks to your doing or if we were that lucky, but I will thank you nonetheless."
We have plans to take this vessel, or at least the occupants, and transport you to a uninhabited M-class planet.
An M class, you say? She kind
Similar.
of tilts her head to the side and says, honestly, a Class L would be just fine. We were prepared for a Class L, and I'm rather hesitant about going to a Class M where there might be other species already living there.
We possess the capabilities to examine planets from afar. We're looking for uninhabited worlds.
I'd be happy to talk to you about it in more detail, but at this point she kind of motions towards the locked doors and she says, if it's all the same to you, I'd like to change into something a little bit more comfortable.
Very well. It's only the door that was behind us that's locked. Is there any other rooms?
Yeah, this room is kind of like a T intersection, with her pod at the very crux of the T.
Alright, so yeah, it's only the entrance door that I locked.
Okay.
Do I sense anything from her?
Yes, you do indeed, but I want you to roll for it so I know how much to tell you.
Okay.
I think we
Insight
said
security?
Say again?
Insight security?
I was going to say insight plus medicine, but if you want to do security, sure.
Uh,
All right, you get the successes you need. So as an empath, of course, you get more emotions, and right now she is feeling very confident. She's feeling, she's somewhat groggy, even for, literally just coming out of 200-year-old stasis. But you do sense that her strength is returning to her, and that at the moment she seems to be feeling a small amount of concern towards the well-being of her crew.
As a leader of your people, I'm sure you're worried about your people, but don't worry. We plan on making sure that everything is taken care of and that they're treated right. One of my doctors have noted that the animals aboard the vessel have a old form of a disease that may affect them long term. We will be treating them.
That's rather kind of you. I, of course, will extend my thanks once again.
I don't know what you think about humanity. I know of the past from what I've been told, but it's different now.
Well,
I should
200
say
years
that
have passed, I'd imagine so.
Well, you can probably guess that I'm not human.
The ears kind of gave it away.
Most of the time they do. There is a vessel that will be escorting you, or at least taking you aboard. I hope that we can work together and get you to a new home.
Of course. And then she kind of motions at the pods. Will you be waking them right away, or are we going to have a conversation, as I'm sure you have many questions?
I think they'll be up for my captain, but for now, we're fine with just having you awake. There is some concern due to the history. I believe that was probably due to the predators saw by humans and augmented humans.
So for a very brief moment, her face tenses, and you get the sense that this is a very unpleasant subject for her. But she still very diplomatically says, yes, I thought that might be one of your first questions. Of course, I'd be happy to answer it.
I will... How about you get dressed and changed, and I'll have you beamed aboard, so you can meet the captain.
Beamed aboard?
Without sounding horrifying, you are ripped apart from every molecule in your body and transported aboard our ship, and then reassembled.
Yeah, that sounds really horrifying. Could we maybe not do that?
We don't have a ship docked here, unfortunately. We do it all the time. We're perfectly fine. Technology is advanced. It sounds terrifying, but tingly.
She narrows her eyes and stares at you as if trying to determine whether or not this is like a practical joke. And she finally says, "All right, just give me a moment. I'll get dressed and we can do this beam thing." And yeah,
I just wait there.
all right. Well, she really doesn't seem to be bothered by that fact. She kind of goes over to what would be the equivalent of a locker. Of course, hers is much bigger than everyone else's. And interestingly, kind of playing up the sort of European angle, she pulls out a very Victorian-looking dress, complete with a hoop skirt. It's very odd, but it's very, how do I want to say this? It's very prim. It's very proper. If you were to say go into the holodeck and play one of Janeway's holodeck programs where she was the governess,
Yeah.
it's similar in design. So maybe she's into this sort of thing, or maybe this is just a odd choice of clothing. You really don't know. It's one of those things where it's one of those extra details I throw in to give you something to think about.
I resist the urge to eyebrow raise.
All right. But in any event, after she's dressed, she just kind of walks back over to you and says, "So, what do I do? Do I stand anywhere in particular, or?"
One moment. I'm guessing 10 minutes have passed.
Yes.
So 5 minutes for defrosting, 10 minutes left, doors open up. I tap the comm badge. And it's like, "You to beam aboard, please." And I just look at her.
So, where would you like to? I'm assuming the transport room, but
Yeah,
okay.
safe place.
Okay. So, in a shimmering blue light, both of you are taken away to the Arcadia. Meanwhile, what is everybody else doing?
On the Aquitaine?
On the Aquitaine, back on the Arcadia. Let's do Maddox since we haven't heard him from a bit.
I'm assuming engineering teams would have beamed over by now.
By now, yes.
Okay, so I would have put Alon in charge of some people working on the generators, and then I would be working on the engines, trying to fix them somewhat.
Let's do it this way. We will do an extended task. Basically, you can only do so many rolls at once. So very basic for this first task. Just so you can keep track at home. The work track is going to be overall a 16, a magnitude of 4, a base difficulty of 4, and the default task is going to be a daring or control plus engineering. And for sake of argument, you can do one roll every 8 hours.
All right, so power systems, warp field dynamics.
I'll give you power systems.
All right. Momentum for an extra dice.
Okay.
It's cool with me.
Okay.
Hey, there you go. You got the momentum right back. Yeah. So go ahead and roll your challenge die. I believe it is 6 total for you.
Why did you do that? 7, 8, 9. So I did half the work.
Yeah, you did more than half the work and you achieved a breakthrough. So future difficulty is 3, and I'll note that down.
Wait, it's 9. No, I'm not gonna reroll that 0.
Okay. So yeah, Matic, we'll say, you're not 100% knowledgeable about old technology such as this, but since you are kind of the chief engineer and you paid attention at the academy, you know enough to get things going, and it sort of snowballs. As you repair one thing, you move on to another, and you sort of pick up the pace. And sure enough, you restore some functionality to the Aquitaine. At this point, I would say the Aquitaine is able to sustain the pods without need of the generators, but it's definitely not going to be able to, say, start firing around its engine.
Oh, point
Mm-hmm.
question. Didn't the EXO completely encrypt the whole system?
I would assume that Crowley would have let the rest of the crew maybe use it.
Yeah, once the command lock was done for the 10 minutes there, 15 minutes there, everything opened back up again.
Oh, okay, cool. That didn't make
Also, Matic has set up a subroutine in the computer. Whenever a pod gets opened, he's alerted. He's also alerted as to who's nearby it, so that way, like, the mistress doesn't remote access and open up a pod, and then they go around and start opening up pods. Like, he wants to know, oh, hey, this pod just randomly opened. Let's send security over there.
Okay, reasonable precaution. All right. What about Sabo and Los? Are they doing anything in particular at this moment?
I imagine Sabo is probably checking all of the pods to make sure that check on the health of the occupants of all of them, and maybe looking more into the disease that the animals are exhibiting, so that he can figure out both the origin and figure out the most expedient way to cure them.
And I'm helping.
Just sort
about
of
time this
Yeah, go ahead.
the captain gets some work done, even if it takes a different character.
All right. Back on the Arcadia, Crowley and Rasha materialize in the transport room, and once you're solid again, Rasha does a quick pat down of herself and once over and says, "Okay, I seem to be intact. That is some interesting technology you've got there."
It takes a bit to get used to it first, but it becomes second nature. If you give me one moment.
Of course.
Commander Crowley to Lieutenant Travik.
Go ahead, sir.
You can leave the Roddenberry now. You can go back to the bridge.
Oh, okay.
Commander Crowley to Captain.
Captain here?
I have brought aboard a guest.
And who would that be?
Her name is Rasha. She is the leader.
Let's go ahead and meet in... My office is off the bridge, right?
Yes, your office is right off the bridge. If you wanted to meet them in a different office, most of Deck 2, at least my understanding anyway, is that most of Deck 2 is either lounge or offices for people.
Let's go ahead and meet is it including Crowley's office?
Yeah, Crowley's office would be on Deck 2.
Let's, Commander, I'll meet you in your office.
Very well.
All right. And we will cut over to here.
I would like to do one thing before this meeting.
Of course, as I play with tokens.
I'd like to do a little bit of research on this Mistress Rasha.
Okay. You would be pulling up records on the computer, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's call this a reason plus science. And well, let me ask, what kind of records are you after?
So I want to know. I mean, I'm assuming the only records of her exist from before she disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
Just anything I can get on about her.
Yeah, let's.
Even if it's just like her first name.
Okay.
Unless that's actually the mistress, which would be strange. But not impossible.
Let's call this a reason plus science at a difficulty of 3.
Okay. I don't think does cultural studies apply?
I think in this instance it could, yes.
Okay. Difficulty 3. You know what? I'm actually going to
Momentum.
spend determination here.
Okay.
And the only reason why is because I have a talent that benefits from me doing so. And I've never used it. I don't even know what it does.
XO.
Yes.
You see the captain's punking you in your own office, right?
How sad is Shervik right now? Do I sense that?
Yeah, from this far away, yeah. His disappointment is palatable.
Like, I'm gonna have a steak tonight.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna spend any momentum. I'm just gonna buy a D20 with 2 success, and so I just need 1 more success.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the value I'm gonna use here is what's important is how we've lived.
Sure, I could see how that could apply.
All right. So you said reason science?
Yep. I see green.
Okay, so that is 3 successes on top of the 2 I already have.
So,
So
2
we
momentum.
gain 2 momentum. Yeah.
All right. So you actually, again, you can spend information if what I tell you isn't what you're after. So you don't get a specific Rasha in the records. However, and I'll just say this is something that Sabo would have communicated as part of, the ongoings, or maybe Crowley would have. Basically, the tricorder scan of Rasha would have included a DNA sort of sequence. And when you go to compare that to other DNA sequences on record, there is another augment, the name of which is unknown. But they share what even you, not having a really big medical background, you would get that this is a familial connection. And based on the information about this individual, is that they took a group of augments and sort of went to Mars for whatever reason. And though what they were doing on Mars is, again, not something that made it into the record, there would be enough to say, I don't want to say spawn more overlords, but kind of they started off very small, and maybe after a generation or two would make sense with the numbers you're dealing with now.
So she's generation 2 or generation 3 augment.
Correct.
Okay. Alright. I head over to my I guess I can ask questions. Oh, so there's not a file on her, just the do we have a name of any relative of hers?
No. The only, and I'll give this to you without needing the momentum spend. The record you get is very incomplete because this was about the same time, in the aftermath or the beginning of the eugenics wars, and not a whole lot of records survived.
Okay. All right, I head over to the meeting.
Okay. And because Janice brought it up, Crowley, would you let Tahan use your chair?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Tahan, Crowley, and Rasha, you all gather in Crowley's office, and once you come in, Rasha does give a very polite sort of curtsy. Again, it's a little bit odd, but you're getting the sense she's just an odd individual to begin with, and she says, "I greet you. I understand you are the captain of this vessel."
I am the captain of this vessel. Mistress Rasha, is it?
Just Rasha's fine. Only my people need to use the honorific.
I understand. Um, so I believe my commander has informed you of the situation.
I understand, yes. We are gravely off course. We nearly fell into a pseudo black hole, and now I'm here 240 some odd years into the future.
I'm curious. Why is it that you decided to leave Mars?
Well, and again, she kind of gets a hard expression, and this time it stays. I believe first I need to ask, how familiar are you with the augments of the 20th century?
I made it a point to study human culture when I was at Starfleet Academy.
Then you would know that there were those augments, such as Khan, who were not viewed very favorably. They were, to be blunt, warlords.
Yes, to this day, humanity does not allow itself to create more augments.
Well, to put it basically, I am a descendant of a group of augments that absconded to Mars just prior to World War III. And our focus, or rather my ancestors' focus, was not just survival, but also in refining their augmentations, such that they would be, or future generations anyway, would be, well, less like Khan.
Do I feel if she's lying? What do I roll for?
That would definitely be an insight plus con, because you're trying to gauge her appearance.
Con!
Yeah.
Con!
Yeah, you're trying to gauge her mood, and I think that's con more than it is, say, science or medicine.
Alright. I have no idea how composure would work into this, so I'm not gonna try it.
Yeah, composure would be you getting scanned.
Okay.
Difficulty here will be a 2. Hey, complication.
She takes over your brain
Yes.
telepathically.
Yes, she is secretly no. So you did succeed. So the success is that you're not detecting any deceit from her. However, the complication is that she does seem to have some sort of mental defense, and you're not able to pierce sort of this wall in her mind. So you get very basic emotions from her, but deeper thoughts or deeper emotions are outside of your grasp.
Okay.
Well, I do think it is a noble goal to improve oneself, Rasha. I cannot ignore the reasons mankind has been wary of augments all these years. Who decides who gets the augments and who does not?
She does kind of tilt her head to the side and say, if you know, do you know how many of us are out there? Or have we all been, well, dealt with?
Well, I don't believe there are, as far as Tahan is concerned,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know of any currently running about, although perhaps there are partly the descendants of both augments and not augments among us, but it has been several hundred years. And as far as being dealt with, whether it was United Earth or Starfleet itself, we're always proponents of diplomatic solutions, and rather than resorting to violence. However, Khan did appear. He resurfaced again, much like you are right now, and it was an issue. And that, unfortunately, did not have a diplomatic end.
Well, I think you probably can tell, but my intention as both leader of my people and as possibly one of the very few augments that still lives to this day, it was my upbringing that one day we would be able to be seen in the light, as it were. So yes, I fully am committed to finding a peaceful and diplomatic solution to all this.
Well, if I'm being blunt, while I don't have any reason, I'm going to assume that your crew is innocent, but I would like to go over this crew roster with this the ship manifest with you. And I start going through the names of the people who are not augments from the original Aquitaine.
Okay. And you'll get about halfway through, and Rasha will catch on and says, "Ah, you mean the ones that delivered our ship to us?"
Oh, hold on one second. And I'm going to go over to my computer. Are there records of any of these individuals from after they delivered the ship?
If you want to spend a point of momentum, I will answer that question.
I will spend a point of momentum.
All right. So now that you're looking it up, these individuals that were originally on the Aquitaine are actually some of the founding members of Mars Colony. Or, they're just, I forget the specific dates, but either they're behind, like, the first sort of outposts, or they're the ones that actually established the colony.
And so it wasn't like they delivered the ship and then the augments took it over from them and they were never heard from again?
No, yeah, it seems like their job was quite literally to deliver the ship and then sort of just build on Mars.
Oh, okay. Well, it would be helpful then if you could provide me with an accurate ship's manifest.
Certainly. Do you require anything in specific?
Names would be helpful. Any of their relatives, so that we might look up and do some research on our own.
Of course. And Rasha does turn to Commander Crowley and says, "Commander, or perhaps Captain, if it is acceptable to you, I would like one of my right-hand men awakened, and he can facilitate what you are asking for."
I suppose your first lieutenant would be the first person we would do a background check on. What is his name?
His name is Gout, Gaut. And, of course, you plug that into the computer, and you get a list of maybe probably 1,000, maybe 2,000 names. It's, not a common name, so it is, you're getting the benefit of that, but it's still harder to nail down.
Well, this will take some time, Rasha. Commander, if you please take her back to the Aquitaine. We'll begin preparations for escorting the Aquitaine to this M-class planet.
Oh,
If you'd be okay with it, sir, they don't have a brig or a mess hall.
We can send food and supplies, but for the time being, I believe it would be easier to leave those in cryosleep who, short of any medical emergency.
Rasha
Very
does
well.
kind of speak up and say, as I told the commander, we do not need a Class M. A Class L would be perfectly acceptable.
Duly noted, thank you.
And at this point, Rasha just kind of looks between the two individuals and kind of gauging, what she should do at this point.
I'll get up and look to her. Well, we can go back to your vessel.
Another beam, then.
Yes.
She gives a small shudder, but doesn't seem to object.
Is it that uncomfortable for you?
I mean, it is a little bit unnerving based on how you described it to me. I think anyone would be a little bit nervous.
I'm not a scientist or an engineer. I gave you
If
the
it-
very briefest hint.
If it helps, just think of it as existing in two places at once, and then only in one.
That doesn't help at all. Like,
That sounds
not at
awful,
all.
Captain.
Did you give her the ripped apart one? That's the
Yeah.
worst explanation.
That's how it was explained to me, too.
It's perfectly safe. We haven't had an accident in years.
Somewhere across the galaxy, a man senses a disturbance in the force.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the bridge.
All right. Tell you what. This is a good time to take a break. So be back in at 5:10 Eastern if you can. And yeah, we will take our 5 to 10 minute break.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, and just sort of a little message to those of you who are watching either on Twitch or on YouTube. Of course, thank you for watching. If it's not too much trouble, I would love it if you both subscribed both on Twitch and YouTube. But if you don't, no big deal. If you do, hey, it's great, and thank you for doing so. Other than that, I think I'm going to mute myself for everyone else. And I'm back.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Kind of half tempted to have taken Carruthers instead of Crowley. That would have been hilarious meeting her as Carruthers.
Yeah. Because I imagine
Also-
Crothers would try to immediately try to scam the ever-loving crap out of her.
Oh yeah, just try and get like idea of how she was genetically modified or and everything like that. They're just trying to map it all. Also, she's tall.
Mm-hmm.
If she's taller than the commander.
If you haven't guessed already, you will when I give you the description of gout.
You are all Goliaths from D&D 4E.
Guess I should get tokens ready though. Let me do that. Back on the Aquadine. All right. Who's all back? I hear the captain.
Hello.
I know Crowley's here. Is Janice and/or Matic and/or Sabo back yet?
I'm here. I'm just eating, so I'm muted.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll give Janice and Sabo a couple more minutes here. All right. Well, give him another minute, and then we'll pick it up again. All right. Well, I know I have Crowley here, and Maddox here as well. So let's pick things back up, and the others can join back in as they get back. Matic, back in the Aquitaine's engine room. It still isn't long enough for you to do another sort of extended task role. But I am curious is if you would be doing anything in particular during this time as well.
While he's observing the engineering crew working on stuff, and while he's working on stuff, he's also looking into the computers to do background checks on them. He's trying to see if they're if the original augments they had that genetic flaw that made them angry all the time or whatever. He's seeing if there was at any point they were fixed of that.
How's your medicine score?
Yes.
I would say this would be...
It's a 3.
I would say maybe an insight plus medicine, because you're trying to discern based on the... Well, maybe a reason plus medicine. Either insight or reason plus medicine.
They're the same score.
I'm going to make the difficulty here a 4, and this will be a scene change. I keep forgetting to tell you when there's a scene change, so you would go down to 3 momentum.
I think I need to spend it for the stuff. The 3 momentum for 2 dice.
Okay.
Would the ship be assisting me with computers?
I'm
I'm
going to
asking for technical
say.
expertise.
I'm going to say yes. So the Arcadia can roll a computers plus medicine.
What are my focuses? Okay. You're probably gonna say no, but
Mm-hmm.
whenever the augments were created, they were created using engineering that was a prototype. So would my focus of prototype engineering for this group of pre-World War III augments, I'm assuming probably the first group of augments, would prototype engineering technically apply? Because they are prototypes and they were engineered.
It's a nice try, but no.
Wow, that was a stretch, but I like it.
Yeah.
Hey, you never know.
All right.
Son of
And
a bitch.
who's rolling for the ship?
The Arcadia's rolling.
Yeah, the Arcadia is rolling a computers plus medicine.
Oh,
Go ahead, James.
That's three successes for me.
Okay.
If only my focus could apply.
medicine.
Hey, you get the 4 you need. So Matic, of course you're not as knowledgeable in such things as, say, Sabo is, but you know enough that looking through the data, it does seem that the first wave augments, or whatever you'd like to call them, that went to Mars, did have that sort of flaw in their gene. But based on what you've gleaned of the augments aboard this ship, that gene seems to have been fixed. Uh-oh, did we lose Matic?
I thought I lost everybody for a second. It got so quiet for a second.
Yeah.
Nope. You still get to hear my beautiful
Realize
voice. Oh,
I
there he is.
didn't realize that I muted my mic. So they were fixed.
Supposedly, yes. The specific gene you're looking for seems to have been modified in some way. You would guess that it's for good.
Who's the transporter chief right now?
Some red shirt. Why?
I'm going to get in touch with him. I'm going to have him send the transporter sequence of Rasha to me, and then I want to compare the two to see if the gene was indeed fixed with her, or if it was fixed to 21st century status as opposed to modern day.
Okay.
I just want to say that
Oh, go ahead.
Carruthers has bioengineering as a focus.
And I have genetics as a focus.
Yeah, I was about to say, unless Sabo really wanted to spend more time with the animals, conceivably he could be with you in engineering to help you out on this. Or, you could assist him, whichever you'd prefer to do.
Would Crothers have beamed over at any point because augments?
If someone lets him, yeah.
He has no idea what's happening because he's locked in his lab.
Yeah, I was gonna say someone would have to tell him what's going on, and then probably have to fix the door because he'd bust through it on his way to the transporter room.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to send the information we have so far to Crothers,
Okay.
and I'm also going to let Lieutenant Commander Sabo know what I'm doing.
All right. So I
Uh,
don't think I need to go out on the limb here and say that probably within the next 2 minutes, Carruthers sort of materializes on the Aquitaine.
oh no! The moment he got the word augmented, he did a sight to sight.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like you were literally just like right there next to a lawn.
Hello, where are they?
They're in stasis pods. I want y'all to check something out real quick. If you could come over here to this console real quick.
Certainly.
And of course,
Um,
Sabo, you can be present for this if you so wish.
yeah, I probably would have called if I told Sabo everything. So if he wants to come, that'd be up to him.
No, definitely.
Yeah. So I'm pull up the genome that's the issue with the super violent tendencies, and then I pull up the transporter sequence, genetic sequence of Rasha, and I just say, look, supposedly they got fixed back before World War III, like before even Mars Colony was founded. I don't trust it. Obviously, medicine has changed in the past 300 years. Yeah, 300 or plus, almost 400 years now. I just want to make sure. I don't want the Arcadia's name or any of our names associated with the next eugenics war.
I think that's rather small-minded that you'd think that would happen.
We
They're
only
meant to be smarter than us. They would probably figure out fighting each other is really pointless. Just my thoughts there.
I mean, we have the Soong augments who almost started another war with the Klingon Empire, and the then we had Khan. I mean,
They're
if
violent.
this genome isn't fixed, they're going to cause a war. They're 3 for 3 right now. I'm just being precautious.
Carruthers, their violence has nothing to do with their level of intelligence. It is directly related to a genetic defect based on the genetic engineering that created them.
And if they have found a way to remove it, then their intelligence is not being hampered or hindered. Let's
Oh,
take a look, though.
indeed.
All right. So this, I am going to make probably one of those very rare difficulty 5 tasks. And they're not the difficulty, the combination of attributes and disciplines. My reasoning is going to be either a reason plus medicine or an insight plus medicine. Um, I think insight's probably a little bit more, but I'll double check. Um, but yeah, I'm curious who would be the lead on this and um, who would be assisting. And I'm going to say that only one person can assist. And yeah, looking at the book examples, I'm going to say that insight is going to be better than reason.
Ooh, my insight's 11.
Um, because Matic is more of a field medic, he will bow out of this.
Okay.
He'll leave it to the 2 doctors.
I mean, my insight's only 9. My medicine is 5, but I do have a focus in genetics that I hope would help. I can assist probably if you have a better insight.
Insight 11, medicine 5. I have a focus of bioengineering.
Okay, then I'll assist.
Question. Since this is Crothers' 3rd appearance now for story stuff, what can I add to him?
Well, let me pull up that. Well, I know because if you have a 5 in medicine, that means you have already increased his discipline by 1, so you can't do that again.
I don't have a 5 in medicine. I have a 4.
Oh, you have a 4. Well, you can give him a value. You can increase a single attribute by 1, but you can only do that once. You can increase a discipline by 1, and that would only happen once. You can give him another focus, or you could give him a talent.
Okay, what type of talent would be good for this? Quickly running down to the talent page here, so... let's see. So I'm just quickly looking at the talents here for medicine. Is it medicine or science?
It would definitely be medicine.
Alright.
What
So
about
there's-
cautious medicine? That way you can just spend a momentum and re-roll the medicine.
Yeah, I'll actually take cautious as a talent. Cautious medicine.
Okay.
When a character is assisting, like I am, am I able to invoke a focus or a talent during an assist, or only when I'm the lead?
As far as I'm aware, yeah, you can invoke things like talents and whatnot. That's usually how the commanding officers use things like advisor.
Okay. I will invoke my genetics focus if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, remember, it is a difficulty 5 task, so if you have determination, you might want to spend it. Unfortunately, I don't think you have any momentum at the moment, so if you wanted extra die, you got to give me threat for it. And both Sabo, even though you're assisting, you can buy additional die, and you can spend your determination. So, just let me know how you want to break it down.
I want to give the GM 6 threat, so we get 5 dice.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say no to threat.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
How
All
much
the
threat did I
other-
give you yesterday, GM?
A lot.
He gets enough threat, all the augments defrost, and welcome to the welcome to the future, people.
World War IV.
So can I burn my determination to get the perfect opportunity,
Yeah.
where I get a bonus d20 that automatically rolls a 1, so that's 2 successes there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then I would go ahead and roll the dice for my assist on top of that.
Correct.
Okay.
So, you guys okay with the threat?
Yeah. What's the
Captain?
worst that can happen?
Alright, I'm going to take the silence as confirmation. Bioengineering?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah!
15 years later, Tahan is shouting Rasha 3 times.
All right. So let me break it down. So that is 6 successes from Carruthers, 2 from Sabo. So it was difficulty 5. You have a grand total of 8. So you get 3 momentum. And yeah, so both of you are looking at this gene sequence. You, of course, do a little bit of your own personal magic on your tricorders. And yeah, based on everything that you're able to determine, of course, you probably could confirm it better in sickbay, but a field kind of hypothesis or conclusion would seem to yield that this particular gene sequence is indeed less or makes people less aggressive than the original gene sequence. Now, whether or not it has completely fixed the problem is not something you're going to be able to determine from a simple bioscan. That's going to require, talking and interacting with people.
Interesting. It looked like they left the genome in them, but they added in another to counteract it. That's fascinating. They've added to themselves.
Fascinating, as in we should be shaking their hands and welcoming them to the galaxy, or fascinating as in I need security teams over here?
Fascinating that they are able to change themselves. This is good.
We've had disagreements on what good is, Crothers.
Sparing life, saving life, that's what we are. Not taking it.
Mm.
I would still say
Anyway, many ways to help people. Sometimes cure them, sometimes kill bad people.
I believe that would be jumping the gun, Lieutenant. I believe that caution is in order. However, I believe that they're not, or at least this one is not potentially as threatening as we first feared.
I wonder if I can get permission to study this further.
Ask her. I'm sure Crowley would love to learn more about our friend.
Crowley does not have a scientific background. I would love to study her in depth.
Alon just calls phrasing.
90s slow jams in the background. She did change it to something more comfortable earlier.
Oh dear.
Is there a way, knowing this now, does the stasis pods have the... Do they have like medical readouts on them that we can access from the from this console, or are they just, hey, we're putting this dude to sleep and this is how you wake him up?
It seems that the only pod that was equipped with computer functionality was Rasha's. The others are just sort of very basic readouts that say, yeah, we're working, and the person inside is alive. But beyond that, not a whole lot.
All right, so I can't do like a massive before they wake up scan.
Nope.
Did Sabo ever figure out the origin of the disease that the animals had in common? Was it something out of the ordinary or was it just something that he shouldn't be concerned about other than with, curing them?
I'll give this to you free. You would know that the disease in question was one that was reported after the eugenics wars in, we'll say, Western Europe.
Okay, so it's not anachronistic, okay. So not unusual, in other words,
Yeah,
for the
not
time
super
that they
unusual.
left. Okay.
Would it have been a genetic augmentation of these animals?
That's a good question. If you spend a momentum, I'll give you an answer.
What if I roll for it?
If you roll for it, it would be a difficulty 3, so might be easier just to spend the momentum.
But what if I want to give you I'll give you 2 threat instead of spending 1 momentum.
Oh. I don't know. What do you want to do?
I'll spend the momentum to find out.
Okay. All right. You spend the momentum, bringing you down to 2. And the answer, because I have to say it truthfully, is yes, that these animals have been genetically engineered. More specifically, they seem to have been modified to survive in a Class L environment.
So it's the animals that are aggressive.
Possibly. You'd have to wake up a cow and see if it charges you.
They're the true leaders.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
All right, well.
Is
Okay.
is the gene the alteration? Is it been? I mean, the fact that this aggressive strain of the gene is no longer present, or at least muted, is it seem to be something that they've actually done themselves, or is it something that's gone away after a couple of generations naturally?
Based on your professional opinion, since you have a genetics focus, someone definitely has been tampering with their genome.
Okay.
So while there are obvious signs that only certain traits made it to future generations, those future generations were probably either modified in the womb or otherwise artificially.
And were they all like third generation augments in, or were they mixed like in the
Second and
in the
third.
pods, second and third? Okay.
All right. Well, speaking of second to third augments, Crowley, you and Rasha rematerialize on the Aquitaine, and Rasha says, "If you'll follow me, I will take you to Gout's pod."
Certainly.
All right. And it's actually not a too bad of a walk. It maybe takes you all of 3 minutes to get there. And she kind of points to like the second pod on the left and says, "This is him here. Uh, may I assume I can wake him up?"
Proceed.
All right, so she goes over to the little keypad, types in a code, hits the star button, and the pod does begin to go through the defrosting sequence. Matic, you would get an alert from this.
I'm assuming that I see that Crowley and Russia are nearby.
Yeah.
Have we transported security over yet?
I'd say if you wanted to have a team or two over here, sure, yeah.
We're
I mean,
all
it-
armed being on the ship, right?
I think it's standard issue that, yeah, you come over with your phasers on any away mission.
Yeah.
Cool. I want my enlisted cutlass for an Alan also, or Alan also.
You have a cutlass?
He's enlisted. No, I don't. I was just joking.
I imagine like Mr. Sulu running around with a rapier.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Note.
So yeah, would you do anything, Matic, or are you just gonna, let it happen?
Seeing that they're starting to wake people up, I think it would be beneficial to bring over, let's say, 6 red shirts. I'll have 2 of them that kind of like shadow Crowley, like they're close enough that if something goes wrong, they're able to intervene, but they're far enough away to where it's not like they're breathing down his neck, you know?
Okay.
And then the other 4 I'll have stationed with either engineering teams that I've sent out or they're in the engineering section of this ship.
Okay. In that instance, Crowley, as you're waiting with Rasha for the pod sequence to finish, Rasha kind of tilts her head to the side, turns, and kind of points behind you and says, "It seems some of your people have also beamed over." And if you follow where she's pointing, you do see 2 red shirt security officers. I guess they're gold now. 2 gold-shirted security officers that are maintaining a respectable distance, but it is surprising that your Vulcan-like ears did not pick them up.
I'll look at them and just like motion for them to like go back further.
Okay, yeah, they certainly do so.
It's precaution. There's, as I said, some concerns.
Well,
I'm not a human, so I don't understand that.
well, humans are fickle creatures.
They're interesting. I did grow up with an adoptive family. They weren't the normal humans either, though.
And it is at this point that the pod does open, revealing Gout. And let me find where I put his description. Mr. Gout, unlike Rasha, who was kind of in skivvies, it seems Gout went under pretty much in full dress. Very much like Rasha, it is a sort of antique or rustic Victorian-style dress. And he has this sort of stylized white hair. He's got a black mustache and goatee. and his face is very quote unquote hard, giving him a very intense appearance. And as his eyes flutter open and he takes a look around, his eyes settle on Rasha, and he smiles and steps out of the pod and says, "Mistress, who is this?" And he looks over at Crowley.
I'm Commander Crowley of the USS Arcadia. We found your vessel in distress and are offering assistance.
He nods and then looks again to Rasha and says, "Am I to understand that waking me means we've finally reached our destination?" And Rasha kind of shakes her head and says, "No. However, I thought it would be best to wake you. That way you can do your duty." And Gout just doesn't really give a salute, but does kind of nod very respectfully and says, "Of course, mistress." And he once again turns to Crowley and says, "Any concerns you have about our crew, or any that you would like to address to the mistress, please let me know, and I will facilitate you."
That's not me, it's my captain that has the questions. Were you permissible to be beamed aboard?
He looks very quizzically at you, and Rasha, with sort of a smile, says, "Oh, don't worry, they just sort of tear you apart and reassemble you." And Gout looks very concerned, but says, "If you say so, mistress."
Atom by atom.
He, you would definitely get the sense that he's just kind of like, okay. But, since he is Rasha's right-hand man, he can't go, "Well, I don't want to do that."
So yeah, I will request that the Arcadia have an escort take him to the captain
Okay.
after he's beamed aboard.
All right. So, yeah, that happens.
In the time between, have I been able to get a response back from Admiral Haru?
Yes. What would your original message have said?
We have encountered a human augment colony ship. This was before I knew that they'd been fixed, if I may put that in quotes. They just there's an uninhabited planet nearby. Please advise.
The response would say, if it is determined that these augments are a threat, much like Khan was, you are to put them back into cryosleep and send them on their merry way. However, if you judge it to be in both their best interests and your own, you are authorized to set them up in a colony sort of fashion.
Okay.
However, there will be one other note, and the Admiral will kind of note that based on where you are in the Shackleton Expanse, a Class M planet might be of interest to the Romulans and or the Klingons. So you might want to think about either one that's a little farther out of the way or a non-Class M planet.
Understood.
And yeah.
So I believe I have Gout meeting me soon.
Yes, indeed. Crowley, would you stay aboard with Rasha?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Then we will go to the captain's ready room as I copy Gout's token over. And there we go. Put it on the right layer. And yeah, so Gout is let in by a security officer who then just sort of waits outside. And Gout does kind of walk on over. Does not sit, but says, "Captain Tahan, I assume."
You assume correctly. Gout.
Yes. How may I be of assistance?
My crew has been working on your ship, making sure that it is safe, and we are currently looking for settlement options for you. And I'm going to pull up I'm going to bring Hailong into the meeting.
Okay. Grab her token. Yeah, she'll step on in and say,
Um,
Captain.
All right. I'm going to give her my eye contact and just make sure she's kind of following along. Chief, this is Gout of the human augments aboard the Aquitaine. They're seeking an uninhabited L-class world. Can you propose a few options for us?
I anticipated this, in fact. And she proffers up a pad and says, it really depends on the type of Class L they are interested in. If they want a more frozen type world, there is one about 3 days away. If they want something more temperate, we're looking at about 6 to 7 days travel. If they want something that was a little bit more towards a Class M, but not quite a Class M, we're looking at about 3 weeks travel. And she lists off a few more, and she kind of looks to Gout and says, would any of those be of interest? And Gout says, any of the Class Ls would be just fine. You said there was one 3 days away? And Hailong does nod, and Gout turns to Tahan and says, then 3 days travel is perfectly acceptable. However, we will need to wake our crew and have them prepared by the time we arrive.
Understood. Did you say that was the temperate planet?
No, that was the frozen one. Well, somewhat frozen. It was kind of like, if you remember the DS9 episode where Odo and Quark get stranded. It's kind of like that one.
Okay. Okay. And the last thing I need from you is a ship's manifest.
Would you care for me to include all the colony supplies in that manifest, or are you simply after a personnel manifest?
Let's go ahead and include both. If we need to, we can supplement your supplies.
Understood. I will need to beam back over to the Aquitaine to facilitate that.
Absolutely. Computer, initiate site-to-site transport.
All right, and yeah, Gout dematerializes. And Hailong just sort of looks where he was and says, That's a thing, Captain.
I just don't want to make the same mistakes that the last captain who dealt with Augments faced. If we place them somewhere, Starfleet can't forget about them.
Oh, not to worry. We won't have a repeat of the Khan incident where, the planet was rendered uninhabitable. I've made sure to account for what we know of the anomalies in the Expanse, as well as, the status of the stars, status of any radiation fields or nebula in the area. All the planets I propose should be a good fit. Of course, barring acts of Q.
Don't say his name.
But I thought it was a human expression.
Well, neither of us are human.
This is very true.
Thank you, Chief. Well, unless you have any further recommendations, I'm going to be preparing another report for Admiral Haru.
Oh, no, I just have the one thing. Don't send people to the mirror universe. And then
Chief,
unless you stop her, she will walk out.
No, I don't stop her.
Alright, yeah. Yeah, she walks out. And yeah.
Yeah, but now I have two swords.
Well, technically Los still has the sword unless you confiscated it, so...
Oh, that's absolutely confiscated.
Alright. In that case, back aboard the Aquitaine, my question becomes... obviously, Gout is going to get the requested manifest to the captain, but would he and Rasha have permission to begin waking the crew?
What was the captain's exact wording on that? That he wanted to look over the roster first and then have them move in if they were cleared?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Okay. So yeah, you'll get the manifest. You'll plug it into the computer, and yeah, you're not like getting any red flags. You're getting like bits and pieces of links back to like first generation augments. Um, but the worst is like maybe one of the augments cousins was related to Khan, but there's not like a direct line that connects them or things of that nature.
Yeah. Just be safe. I have Sin look over it as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I do ask Gout how much time he needs to prepare.
2 days would be best.
Okay. And it's going to take us 3 days to get there. Is the ship ready to transport or be transported by us?
I would say at this point, enough functionality has been restored that it can maintain life support. However, you would still have to kind of tractor it at warp, which is something you can do. It just, isn't done a whole lot.
Okay. Commander Crowley,
Commander here.
are you alone?
I can be.
Please do.
Alright. And I will leave Rasha. I'm gonna walk a lot further away though, considering I noticed that she heard the red gold shirts before I did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to guesstimate her hearing range, and I'm going to walk double that.
Okay.
Okay.
You walk into main engineering.
Hello, clear the room, please.
Commander Crowley. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, go ahead. I guess I was super busy, and now I gotta go. Because Exo's a punk.
That's right. Commander, is your tricorder still working by the book?
Yes.
All right, we're going to be towing the Aquitaine to its destination. I would go ahead. I would like you to go ahead and keep the tricorder as is. We don't want the Aquitaine doesn't need to be in excessive contact with the Arcadia and its computers along the way.
Very well.
Otherwise, Sid and I have checked the ship manifest, and nothing too surprising. So we're looking forward to getting these people to their new homes.
Very well.
Anything else, Commander?
Nothing that I've observed so far. Everything seems to be fine.
All right. Well, keep a cautious eye just in case.
Will do.
Captain out.
My question becomes, at this point, like I said, you've restored enough functionality that the ship will be able to get to this planet and conceivably land on it. But would you go further, Matic, and repair it all the way?
I would repair it to the point of life support and all that's working. It'll land on the planet safely. The only thing I don't really want to fix all the way is if it has any sort of weapons or tactical systems.
Oh, no, it doesn't have any of those.
All right, and then yeah, I guess I would want to go ahead and just fix it up all the way. But I sent you a PM about other stuff to do.
Where'd you send it?
I thought I sent it on Discord. Oh no, I didn't. I haven't sent it yet.
Okay.
I forgot to hit enter.
That fateful key.
Y'all. right. So
There
while
we go.
let's see. Okay, yeah, that can happen. Um, so my next question is, what would the rest of you be doing? Obviously, if you've given the go ahead to Rasha and Gout, they are going to begin to waken their people. Um, so I guess my question is, Los, Carruthers, Sabo, Crowley, do you all stick around on the Aquitaine, or do you head back to the Arcadia?
Um, let's see. So we're just like passing time now for
Mm-hmm.
the last few days. I'd probably be inquiring with Gout about have their life on Mars before they left, questioning them on different things about the past.
Okay. Uh, since we are running a little bit short on time, I'll condense that conversation. Um, Basically, Gout's going to tell you what you'd expect from a very basic outpost on Mars. So this was pre-terraforming. So obviously, it was not very large of an outpost. They were kind of confined to the outpost alone. Even with their augmented abilities or characteristics, they could only survive about 30 minutes outside of the outpost. So, kind of like imagine living on a submarine, and that's what they dealt with for quite some time.
All right. Yeah, that's pretty much all it is. If they're short.
Okay. Anybody else interacting with the augments, or anybody else want to do scenes during this 3 day time period?
I imagine that Sabo would have worked on curing that disease so
Okay.
that they would have access to their food without having to worry about um, any problems. But also, I mean, I imagine that he'd also want to stay on board when the augments are getting out of the biotubes to offer his assistance to give um, kind of medical scans to each of them as they're coming out. I mean, I'm sure they have hardy enough constitutions that they're going to be fine, but I
Hmm.
think he would like to try to find an excuse to scan them all outside of the biotubes.
Okay. So, you're able to get a good scan of some of the individuals, and they seem to all be sort of mixed evenly between male and female. However, they all have European characteristics. If you haven't guessed by now, these are very much the stereotypical 7 foot tall plus Swedish people. That's kind of was my inspiration for them.
Hmm.
There are some interesting outliers. You do see that some of them have both pale skin and blue hair, but that's very much in the minority. Like overall, there's maybe 5 or 10 of these individuals. And you would get, since you are, genetics focused, you would be able to tell that they have the recessive gene. Uh, Pretty much like how red hair is like double recessive. Same thing here.
And is there any sign of the aggressive strand in their DNA?
It is as we discussed earlier.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Anyone else?
I guess Crowther would just be going around gathering, samples with permission.
Okay. I'll say that Gout on Rasha's behalf will humor you.
I'd say like his communication, like he's human, but he's super ecstatic to meet them.
I think, again, without going into too much detail, because we do have to finish up a little bit early, you'd get the samples. It wouldn't be stepping on anyone's toes, but the augments would kind of deal like anyone going to the doctor's office. Because they're super sick, they just kind of want to get in and out, kind of a thing.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say like their experience with humans, probably like or their history of them, like knowing what their parents went through. He's complete opposite. He's super happy to meet them.
Okay. Noted. All right. Unless there's anything else, we will skip ahead a few days. So eventually you do arrive. You drop out of warp and you come into orbit above the third planet in the system. The system does not have a name nor an official designation. It is very much just one of those systems that hasn't either been scanned or really looked at. Hylong kind of decided not to give it a name because, if it's going to be the Augments planet, they should, name it themselves. But yeah, at this point, Rasha would, send a communique over to the captain. And, Captain, would you be on the bridge at this point, or would you be in your ready room?
This is in when we're approaching the planet.
This is you guys in orbit above the planet.
I'll be in my ready room.
Okay. You get a quote unquote call transferred through, and when you open it, you do in fact see Rasha. And she says, Captain, I would once again like to extend our thanks. If it's all the same to you, please release the tractor beam and we will begin colonization procedures.
Absolutely, and I wish you and your people the best of luck. I tap a few buttons on my console, and the bridge has been informed to disengage the tractor beam.
Okay. And she smiles as that happens and says, "Oh, and do try to stop in from time to time, or send someone to say hello."
Well, it's a big Shackleton expanse out there, but I'm sure someone will stop by.
Very good. Well, it's been a pleasure, Captain. I will be off.
Bloop.
Yep. So yeah, so we kind of look to an external shot of the Arcadia and the Aquitaine. The tractor beam deactivates. The Aquitaine begins to descend through the atmosphere. And yeah, that is, I think, a good stopping point for this session. So of course, players, stick around for after session talks, etc. But for anyone watching on YouTube or Twitch, thank you for doing so, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.